Well, it's good to be back. It's Monday. And we're going to start with stand up. So, what did I get done since last stream? A lot of what I've been focused on is some sort of aesthetic and art related stuff. I took a crack at tweaking some of the colors in the main scene to see if I could make it look a little less bad. Um, Somewhat failed, but I didn't want to spend too much time trying to improve the general vibe. The primary goal was that I needed to change the color of the floor to something that wasn't quite such a vibrant green. Because I noticed in my last stream, I was wearing a white shirt, and the light from my monitor, the green from the monitor, was hitting it and causing it to get keyed out because of my green screen. That wasn't ideal. So I made a couple of tweaks just to some colors here and there. I think I may have discovered the source of the bug that causes them to sort of buck and go on their side a little bit. But apart from that, I was mostly just sort of working on some aesthetics related stuff and some educational stuff. I did a little bit of digging around about using Blender, looked at some tutorials for that. And I'm now a little less intimidated by the idea that I'm going to be creating and animating some models there. Eventually, not right now, obviously, but in the near future. So, what am I working on today? Today, we want to make the chatter activity joinable by nearby drones. We want to create a second type of drone that has an activity that is like chatter, but doesn't allow nearby drones to join unless they also have that activity in their roster. And I have a couple of ideas for that, just as something that we can throw in for a placeholder, right? And I wanted to sit down and sort of separate the biographical information about sort of the individual drones from the actual drone itself. Because currently, and this is something I've joked about before, of course, that nickname lives in the body. And it's not necessarily the best place for it to live, really. Like, it's not the end of the world that the body has a reference to important biographical information about that individual. And it was sort of a matter of convenience that the nickname was on such an accessible sort of layer, right? However, ultimately, you want to be able to access information like nickname, even if the drone isn't physically present. And so that's one of the changes I'm hoping to make today, is have another way to store that data in the project, so that it doesn't impede when like the drone is not visible, when the drone is maybe on a mission or something, and the actual physical drone isn't currently loaded. So let's get started. So we're gonna go ahead and halt this. Close that down. Now there is a neat feature I'm going to turn back on. The navigation agent in Godot, it has the ability to sort of display the path that they're trying to follow, which is quite cool. I can briefly show you what that looks like enabled. But basically it sort of shows a dotted line path of where they're heading at a given time in red. Very useful for debugging. And making sure that that pathfinding stuff is working as intended. And as you can see, there's like that little red line that connects them all. That's a debug thing. It's very, very slick. And it sort of weaves this web of who's trying to get to whom. Very cool stuff. Of course, I don't have any avoidance set up, so they start to get in each other's way. That's something I'll have to change eventually. But for now, it's not that high of a priority. Now, that brings me to that bucking bug that I'm pretty sure I know the solution to. And it has something to do with where we're doing our moves at. So when we have approach, we're setting our forward direction, and eventually we do a visuals look at global position plus forward direction. This is, I think, where that bucking happens, that the pathfinding, the points that it's trying to move to. Oh, hey, it's Gucci Garbage. Thanks for lurking. And oh, before I forget, Wise Ms. Ultra, thanks for the sub. They subbed shortly before I started today. Very cool of them. I appreciate that. So, one of the problems is that with the pathfinding, they seem to... Oh, and Exercise is here as well. Very cool. They seem to try to look at a position that's on a different y-axis. I think that's causing them to rotate weirdly. So what I'm going to have to do is basically do a tweak to forward direction for the purposes of looking at here, and get rid of the y part of it before we do look at. Because in all these other situations, I'm pretty sure forward direction, the y is basically always zeroed out for the most part. So here we're going to do... corrected forward position, or corrected direction. So this is going to be vector 3, and we're going to do forward direction x 0, forward direction z. That should result, and if we look towards the corrected direction, that should result in them not bumping and rocking and ending up on their butt or on their side or anything quite like that. Oh, Gucci Garbage, thanks for the sub. Awesome, really appreciate it. We're gonna go ahead and save this, and let's see where we end up. I'm going to be watching for anyone who's tilting and shifting around a bit. So far, I'm not seeing any rocking going on. I think we may have solved the bug. Oh, at the last second when they turn to look at each other, they do tilt a little bit if they're on slightly different heights. They did love to boing. They won't be boinging anymore, though. I'm ending the boing. The boing stops here. But yeah, I think we may have corrected the boinging for now. I have video evidence of the boinging, though, so it will live on in our hearts. Boingless behavior. That's true. Absolutely. Okay, well, we've got that figured out. Next step, we want to work on joining. So currently, let's look at our scene here. Our little guys don't have any way of joining in on activities when people nearby are doing them. We got part of the way there by adding, by sort of creating, what was it? I don't think it was colony behavior, but we created a script that basically is part of HiveMind. It creates these nodes that represent group activities that are currently in the works, keeps track of who's joined them and whatnot. Good stuff, but we're going to need some way of figuring out like who's close enough to join, and then find a way to pull drones out of an activity, possibly to join in on that. I haven't given this too much thought. I was thinking it might be good to have sort of like an area 3D on the characters, maybe for that. It might also be possible to like create an area 3D around the activity itself, like give it a point in space. But I don't think I really like that necessarily. I think it's going to make more sense to have that be more of a sort of on an on-character basis, right? So let's see, what's going to be the best way to do this? I'm guessing that what makes sense to me would be to create an area 3D on the character and then sort of control and modulate the size based on the activity itself, and maybe give the activity like a join radius or something. That makes sense to me. A potential problem with that, though, might be setting the join radius at the start of the activity. I don't know if it's going to trigger area enter the way that we expect it to, if the size suddenly changes and envelops nearby little guys, right? So that could be an issue. I'm not 100% sure what the solution to that is going to be. But I think we just sort of try it out and see how it goes. So we're going to need a new area 3D on this guy. It's going to be similar to adjacency area. So let's go with area 3D. Oh, no, we don't want that to be a child of adjacency area. We're going to call this join area. And it's going to need a collision shape 3D, or else it's not going to work. For that, we're going to do a new sphere shape, of course. Now, I ought to figure out where adjacency shape. I did a capsule for that, didn't I? I did. Okay. So for this collision shape, we probably ought to actually do a capsule then, shouldn't we? And similar to adjacency area, we're going to want to adjust where it is, aren't we? So this guy, vertical transform position, it's a little bit offset. We're going to copy that. Okay, that seems to put it in roughly the right place. But we probably want it to be a bit bigger. Oh, but it probably should be a sphere, though, shouldn't it? Because it's going to be a pretty big area 3D. Let's crank it up. We're going to switch back to a sphere here. And it's going to need to have a pretty big radius. Now, I think that's part of this guy. Yeah, okay. Radius of 1, maybe? That's not particularly large. I would assume that join distance for an activity like that, it should be a bit bigger. Maybe 5. 5 seems a bit big. Strike a difference, 3. 3 seems good. 3 seems like that would be appropriate. So we've got join area here. Now I'm thinking, oh, snap, lecture size. Thanks for the sub. I appreciate it. Very nice. Always awesome to see that. Okay, so we've got joint area. It's nice and big, but not too big. Next, I think we need to make join area radius something that lives on activities. So let's find our activity mod, or not activity mod, our activity script. The thing that sort of lets us define what the custom resource that drives activities is made of here. So we're going to do, we want that near that anyone can join. So let's do export bar join radius. And that's going to be a float. And the default, we're going to make that 3. Because that's what we got right now. Yeah, Lexercise says, I'm doing my part. Excellent. Again, very happy to see that. So we're going to save this. Bingo. And then we want to make sure that chatter is set up correctly now. Got to double click it. We've got a join radius of 3. That's what we need there. Excellent. So, next steps. We got to figure out where we're actually doing our behavior here. Now we want drones to be able to join in either when they enter the radius, or if they happen to be in the radius when the activity starts. Those are the 2 times that we'll want joining to be a thing. It kind of makes me think the radius should actually be smaller, because they tend to get pretty close to each other when they chatter, right? Unless they need to approach if they decide they want to chatter. I don't know about that. I think it's going to be easier to make them just immediately chatter for now. And then we can decide later if it's going to be worth it to make them approach as part of that. So let's go into, I want to say it's going to be activity mod, because that's the thing that drives the activity behaviors on the drones themselves. This script is starting to get pretty big. We've got pick activity, we have perform activity, and that currently just gets it on the warpath. It gets it on the move. But in particular for chatter, it just gets them going. It doesn't actually make them start. We got our friend handler. That is start arrival. Start arrival is the thing that if they're in transit, they go ahead and start acting. I think start acting is the thing we want to be tapping into. Where, yeah, friend handler mentioned. But I think start arrival is the thing, or start acting rather, is the thing that we want to be. We want nearby drones to have the opportunity to throw down and join in at this point, at the start acting point, right? But then when new ones enter the area from here out, that's when they need the option to join as well. So pretty much the shared activity state dot acting is going to be one, or become friends. They don't need to fight unless they want to. Fighting is definitely something they'll eventually have the ability to do, but not yet. For now, we're only doing friend handler because we just have friends on the drone colony so far. But fighting is definitely something that's on the horizon for sure, just not right at this moment. That might be like frenemy handler or something. Okay, so we've got start acting. I'm going to go ahead and put in a little note in here that we want to poll people that are within the radius to see if they want to join in. Friends want to join in. And I'll try to remember that the any new signals that folks are entering are going to be looking for that shared activity state dot acting state for the most part. Now, this is all happening in activity mod, and this join area really ought to be talking to the brain script, which it handles more generic things, right? So basically we need a signal here from join area. So let's go ahead and grab that. We have area entered. That's definitely what we want. We'll connect it to brain. Connect. Bingo. There we go. Similar to adjacency area, we are going to go ahead and see if the other area basically is another drone. Now, we're not doing friend detected, though. we don't need to do that. That's different. But we do need to do something here. So I think we need a way to keep track of who is in whose adjacency area, right? Or who's within join area. That's what I'm thinking. Who is within join area? So for that, we need an array, I would say. Now, what's going to be the best place to put that? An array of people within join radius. Honestly, that feels like a job for the behavior mod, right? Because ultimately, this is just an activities thing, right? It's going to be the activity mod, I mean. So I would say we probably want basically the ability to add and remove drones from our join area. So that's going to be an array and then 2 methods to handle whether they're coming or going. So this is going to be, let's see, the drones within join radius. What do I want to call that variable? We can't just do friends. We've already done friend handler. That's sort of been there, done that. But who is nearby? Neighbors, maybe? It's not adjacency that we're doing here. It's join radius. I think just really joinable drones or something, or I think just calling it join detection would be good. And it's an array. I need to double check to see how did I do the array in other places. Okay, so let's type inside the bracket. And it's a character body 3D that we're tracking for now. Until we separate that biographical information at least. Very cool. I need to hit insert again. Friend located. That's correct. We be locating friends up in this house. So we got join detection there. We need to be able to add and remove people from join detection. So in addition to this join area signal for area entered, we should also do area exited for the same reason. And that should also go on brain. Connect. And we're going to look for the same kind of stuff on area exited. Because we're going to be adding and removing drones from that array as they come and go. So we need a method for that to get called by the brain on this guy. I think we could do that right above the set activity message, because this is more to do with starting and stopping activities than it does communicating with display elements, right? So we're going to do func register joiner. This is going to receive the, basically, like, this is the friend handler, but for neighbors, right? And we're going to do the opposite. Func remove joiner. This drone. There's the copy, basically, of the drone that's coming or going. Good stuff. And then down in Drone Brain, we're going to do... First, I just want to make extra sure that we have a reference to the activity mod. We do. It's just called activity mod. Very good. Activity mod, register, joiner, other parent. The other parent is the one that joins. Similarly, remove joiner when they exit. Good stuff there. And we ought to save this scene. There we go. That way we've got our join area. I'm not going to throw a million errors when I hit play. Although it should automatically save when I do that. So I don't have to worry about that too much. So we've got that. Now we can go back into activity mod. We know that we're getting a reference to the other parent here, which is going to be the body of the drone that's coming or going. So then, how do we want to do this? So register joiner is going to be, we want to make sure that they aren't already on the array. And I want to say group activity will give us an idea of how we want to do that. So we have join group on this guy. If it has income, if it doesn't have incoming, we append, right? So this would be, I already forgot what I named the array. Join detection. Okay. If join detection has this drone, but we want to reverse it. If it doesn't have this drone, then join detection append this drone. Similarly, if the array does have the drone when it's trying to leave, we want to, I think it's erase this drone. I think that's correct. I'm going to double check. Erase, that's correct. Okay, cool. That's what I needed to see. Folks, if you've done something once, don't bother doing it again. Just copy off yourself. That's the motto I tend to follow. So we're pendings, we've got it on the array now. Very cool. But we also want to see if we're already doing the activity during register joiner. That's when we need to check to see if they want to join. The other time is when the activity actually starts. We want to check everyone that's on our register joiner list to see if they want to join. And we probably ought to figure out what the odds that they're going to join the activity are. I want to say we could make it something like 50-50 for now, and then do print messages to make sure that it's actually giving us some of one and some of the other. But if we made it 50-50, I have a hunch that enough drones are going to be chattering near each other to make that more tempting, right? Because I don't know if it's going to trigger only off of the initial chatterer, or if the person they went up to chat with trigger it too. Are we thinking eventually giving the drones preferences? Absolutely. So it is in the plan to give drones some individual characteristics that will factor into what they choose to do and when. So it's definitely something I want to do. I haven't really thought too hard about what types of actual like attributes and things they're going to have that are going to contribute to that, because at the end of the day, they aren't living things. They're not sentient. I don't want people to feel bad about making them fight. Like, I am in part trying to solve one of the problems that Pokemon has as a property, in that it's kind of similar to like forced dogfights and stuff on some levels, which kind of blows. Like, we don't like that. So on some level, we don't want to be like giving them a lot of personality per se, but I definitely want them to have some attributes that effectively boil down to preferences and affect what they choose to do and when and with whom. So that is definitely on the to-do list for sure. So we've got a join detection, and for now it's going to be random as to whether or not they decide to join, barring, you know, until we have some type of preferences system in place, some attributes that are more individual. So I guess it comes down to, we probably want to have basically like a joining decision function that gets called, and that can lean on a value that lives on the drone for now, I guess. So let's go consider joining. So this is going to be called by others. And I guess we ought to define a join chance. That, I feel like, is something that for now... do we want to put that on the sheet or put it on the body? Nickname lives on the body. Join chance feels like something that could go on the sheet. I think since it will allow me to adjust them on an individual level, but I feel like it would... I think for now, I'm just going to define a temporary variable to use for this. We're just going to call it join chance. We're going to go var join chance float 0.5. So this is going to boil down to a 50% chance. Roughly. So for considered joining, we're going to do some sort of just a random roll. We're going to check to see between 0 and 1 if we're equal to or below our join chance here. So for that, I know that we've got an RNG on brain. There we go. So we were going to do var join roll brain RNG. I think it's going to be randf range because we're using a float here between 0 and 1. And then if join roll is less than or equal to join chance. Yes, because higher is going to be a bigger chance. Then we join. Okay, so we've got the roll, and let's do a print statement too. So it's going to be body.nickname. No. Plus decided to join in. Very cool. Then we can do an else. Because we want to make sure that they do both, that they choose to join or not join. Decided not. Actually, we're going to do decided to be a party pooper. Because then we're going to see the word pooper over and over again in the log. That's going to feel pretty good. We're going to like that. We're going to enjoy that. So we've got consider joining. Doesn't actually do the thing just yet. But if we choose to join, there are two things we need to do. When we do, try start by activity. I'm trying to remember, where do we join the, there we go. Brain hive mind, create group of 2. How are we joining a specific group of 2 though? Because we have our join group method here. And this is all, all of this particular pane is to ensure that when one joins in, they look roughly in the direction of everybody else, right? So we got to do join group incoming. So we got to figure out group activity, incoming.group activity. Oh yeah, they have a reference to the group activity, right? So when we decide to join, we're going to need a reference to the group activity from, I'm assuming it's the body. Brain.body. Yep, from the body. Okay. So the body has the other body in this case has a reference to the group activity. So consider joining. We should expect a reference to them. In particular, I think we want a reference to the body because that's where the group activity reference lives. So other body. So then we do other body dot group activity dot join group. Yeah. Dot join group. And it needs a reference to our body. So for that we do brain.body. Very good. So that's getting into the group activity. Cool. Doesn't actually get us started on the activity itself though. For that, we need, I want to say it's this guy, try start by activity. Okay, so we need a reference to the activity then. Don't we? Yeah, we need a reference to the activity. Okay, we can do that. So for consider joining, we have other body, comma space, other activity. We also will need to check at some point in this process if we qualify to join the activity before we roll for it, right? So that, I believe, is going to be another function. Func test joinability. And that's going to be other activity. Basically what we're going to do is check the activity information, see if it's joinable by anyone, and if it's not, we see if we have that activity and return true or false accordingly, right? So let's see. And just to be type safe, we can make sure it's an activity that we're receiving. We can do that here too. I like being type safe. Like one of the things, a little bit of a rant here. One of the things that I really like about C# that makes me nervous about GDScript is that in C#, you pretty much have to be type safe. In GDScript, it's loosely typed. You do not have to be type safe. You don't have to tell it what type of value you're expecting for a particular variable you just declared. So if I set a variable to like a float, and then later I set it to a string, it doesn't care. It's not going to throw an error, nothing like that. But if I am looking for a float and had set it to a string, I'm in trouble. It's going to throw an error. I was going to do it later and not going to warn you about it before. Sad. I don't like it. But you can make it you can make it type safe. You can restrict what you're expecting to get from it. It just doesn't make you do it. So it always makes me a little nervous to not do that, right? Okay, so we've got test joinability. First things first, if other activity, we want to see if it's joinable by anyone. Can anyone join? That's one. If other activity dot can anyone join, return true. Because if anyone can join it, it doesn't matter if you have it or not. Else. Another thing too, not every activity can be joined at all. And some of them have a maximum number of participants. Chatter, I think, does have a maximum number of participants, right? Oh, it's going to get complicated. Come on. Why won't it? Oh, I'm in the node area. Okay. So we have minimum targets. Oh, I don't think I created a maximum number of participants on that. It's just a group activity. Okay. It's probably fine that there's no maximum. So we also want to make sure that it is a group activity and not just a solo. So that's going to be participation that we're asking about. We're in the wrong thing. There we go. So if other activity participation, if it's not group, so that's shared participation type group. If it's not that, return false. If it's not a group activity, we can't join. End of story. Then if we get further in the method than that, then we know it is at least a group activity. Then lastly, if anyone can join, we got to check if we have that activity on our activity list. So this would be if sheets, and sheet needs, oh, I'm trying to remember what drone sheet has. Let's look at the script. I want to say it's called drone sheet. Drone sheets, come on. There we go. Default activities, that's what we're looking for. If default activities has other activity, then we can return true. Then we know that we're allowed to do it. If we already had that activity in our default activities list, we can join it. As long as it's a group activity, we can join, right? So, back in the consider joining territory here, we got to do if test joinability. And since we're basically trying to cut it off early, we're going to check if it's not test joinability. And we do other activity here, of course. And let's do a print message. Print body.nickname plus can't join, not a valid activity for me. It's going to be sad when we're going to have another type of drone with an activity that's going to exclude the room bots, but we are going to get there. So there's consider joining so far. Then, so we've got the ability to join the group. The last thing we need to do is try start by activity. We do try start by activity, other activity, and I think that gets us pretty much the rest of the way there. Hey, it's Arrow. Good to see you. Oh yeah. Frowns in chat for the room bots getting excluded from activities. But it's something we got to test eventually. Okay, so we're almost ready to test joining for chatters here. We've got consider joining. We've got register and remove. The next thing we got to do is we're going to, on register, test to see if the activity is already underway, right? So register joiner, the one that is doing the activity is the one that's going to get this method called. So they know their own state. So if activity states, if it's shared, activity state, acting. So if we are already doing the activity, then we want them to consider joining. There we go. This drone. But this is a reference to the body. Consider joining lives in the activity. So this is going to be this drone dot brain dot. Actually, I think the body has reference to activity mod, doesn't it? Does it not? Let's find out. I don't see it. So it must be in the brain. Okay. Brain activity mod consider joining, and for that we gotta go brain.body and whatever our activity, right? Body absolutely body. Where's our current activity at? We should have that, right? Yeah, it's called current activity. Okay. Back down here. Current activity. Bingo. So this should get us to the point of if somebody joins and we're already doing the thing, we're telling them to consider joining in, right? That's good. We want that. The other thing we wanted to do is check everybody who's on our list to see if they want to join when we start chatting, like when we get to our destination, right? And that is in the start acting blob right here. I think. Start acting, right? Right? Yeah. But it would be a little bit weird, I think, if we started before our target started. Ooh, especially since create group of 2 doesn't happen until this step right here. So it needs to happen there. See if others want to join, because otherwise they won't have a reference to the group, right? That's going to be a problem. So let's ask around. So this is going to be func So we got to come up with a name for this method where you're checking the people that are nearby to see if they want to join you on the activity you're about to do, right? I kind of want to just call this one peer pressure. I feel like that's the way. So now right here we can call peer pressure. And inside of peer pressure, we're going to check to see if the array is not empty first, right? Because if it is empty, there's no point. And we don't need to ask the current target because they are already going to do the thing. So let's see if, oh, not if peer pressure, if, I just looked at that array and I already forgot what it was called. Join detection. Okay, thanks. So if join detection size, if it's 0, then we get out of there. Return. We don't need to do peer pressure if there's no one around. Then we do for I in join detection dot size. That should get us all the way through the array. So if I want to make sure it's not the current target, if it's not equal to current target, then I dot brain dot activity mod dot consider joining. I think it's consider joining, right? Consider joining. Okay. And for that we do body and, or no, we do brain.body, right? Because the brain is the linkage between the body and the activities, it seems. Brain.body, current activity. What's wrong here? Can I find member brain in base int? Oh, okay. Here's the problem. It's join detection I. And we need to do that up here too. Right? Because I is an int. Current target is a dude, right? It's a body. You can't be peer pressuring a number. You can't bully an integer, you guys. Okay. So we've got peer pressure. We've got considering joining when you start. I think this is enough to test. So, will it break? And if so, where? So I'm going to make this a little smaller so I can see the debug messages. Okay, we've got a problem. So invalid access, default activities on base of object type nil. Okay. Sheet default activities has, I don't think the activity mod has a proper reference to the sheet. I think I have that variable declared, but I don't think we actually have anything connecting to it. So we got to do brain.sheet. I know the body has it, so brain.body.sheet. Save. Let's try it again. This might be a pretty janky feature. There might be a lot of problems. Okay, here we go again. We got some people spacing out. Nobody chatting yet. So I have to wait for the next round of selections here. Okay, somebody wants to chat. At least one of them is probably going to give up before they get there, though. They're popular. We got a chat. Decided to be a party pooper. There we go. Okay. So somebody had an opportunity to join, decided not to. Group activity empty. Okay. Friend detected. Cool. Lots of friend detecting going on. Okay, got some movement. Decided to be a party pooper. Cool. I'm basically waiting to see if somebody does join. It's a 50-50 shot, so... Alternatively, I could crank it up. Somebody decided to join. Okay. So far, it appears to be working. Lexercise says, I love to detect a friend. We all love to do that. We all love to detect a friend. It's one of my favorite pastimes, that's for sure. I do think, though, that friend detection might be overly sensitive. It kind of feels like Wiseman's Ultra says, I love to be a party pooper. I also love to do that. I think we have a small problem here, though. Here is the problem. I think the join radius area thing is tripping off the friend detection too early. I don't have good evidence of this, though, but I'm seeing friend detected like way sooner than I think I should be seeing it. But at the same time, they are getting kind of close, right? Interesting. But friend handler. I feel like the join radius issue. The join radius might be tripping off the friend detection too soon. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm thinking about it. How do we solve that? Currently, we're grabbing the area parent, checking to see if it's a body, and then using that to decide what to do, right? I suspect we're going to have to put some type of an identifier, pretty for Earth, you might say, round. I think we're going to put some kind of an identifier on the actual area itself and check that first. Because with the number of areas we have here, the way that we're detecting friends right now is a little loose. We have to tighten it up. That's what we're going to do next. We have to tighten up the detection here. So, the way that we're going to do that is... I think there's a couple ways to do it. One might be through groups, I think, but I have never used groups. There is another way, and that is to put scripts on the different area, on the two different areas. And instead of basically grabbing the parent, figuring out if it's a body, you can just grab the script on the other area and be like, are you an adjacency area or are you a join area? And that will make friend detection stricter, which is what I want. One of the jankier ways to do it, but it's a way I know how to do it. So we're going to do that. So we need to put this where we put the scripts. Inside of drones. And we're going to call it adjacency area with the proper caps. Create. We're going to do a similar thing on join area. That also needs to go in the script place. Create. So we have those two added. So now we're just going to create a couple of functions that will basically never get called. Func. So this is going to be join area. And it just pass. Right. We have join area there. In this one, we have adjacency area. Cool. Now, this is sloppy, but now on the body. Oh no, this is in the brain. We were doing this in the brain, right? Yeah. So we have on area entered. We don't have to just check if they have, if the other parent has that method. We can do, let's see, if area dot has method and this would be if it doesn't have that, return. And we basically do the same thing for this guy and for this guy. So if it doesn't have method join area, then it won't get any further. That should make both of these sets of things a lot stricter. Go to the script place. Banish them to the script place, to the script realm. Let's see. Save all. Where is it? I don't see it. Oh, I was in the wrong submenu. There we go. Now, if we try this again, we shouldn't get friend detected quite so frequently. It should be a little stricter with when they decide to detect a friend. Someone is going to get chatted with right there. Friend detected. Cool. We got some of that. Friend detected. Very cool. Up. People decided to join in. Friend detected. I think that worked. I think they're joining from a distance, right? But they're still going all the way to initiate that initial chat, which is what we wanted. We wanted them to really close that distance, right? I'd call that a W right now. That appears to be working quite nicely. So if folks can decide to join in, that's good. That's what we want. Now that we have that figured out, I guess the next thing I want to try is exclusion. And for that, I'm going to have to make a whole other type of drone. Because we need to have an activity type that's like chatter, but that the roombots can't do it. So it too would need to be a group activity. I'm thinking some kind of a drone that has arms. And the activity would basically involve like waving your arms in the air or something like that, right? And so of course, if you don't have arms, you can't do it. And the roombots, they don't have it. They don't have the arms. Ping pong. Ping pong is a group activity, but that would require some equipment. That would require a ping pong table, which would be a pretty cute thing to have as like as a station, right? Because it is something I wanted to do. Oh, it's cuter for them to wave their arms around. Okay, well, I'm glad you think that, but this does touch on one of the things I plan to implement, which is being able to sort of build structures in the pasture part of the drone colony that the drones can come up and interact with, similar to doing an activity, right? And what's cute about a ping pong table is that up to 4 can play, but at least 2 need to play. And so that would actually be a really good test of like nuanced, a nuanced example of that feature being tested, right? Because it's more complicated than just 2 people activate it, right? Because it could be up to 4. And you could have people sort of join in and then leave. That could be interesting. But yeah, let's do a wave. Let's do a new type of drone that has arms. We're gonna do a wave. We'll make a new activity. So let's start with the activity first. So for that, I am going to duplicate chatter. So let's see. Duplicate. We're going to call it wave. So display name is going to be wave. It's group, it's approach, it's look center, same patience, same minimum targets. Display message wants to wave. Anyone can join is going to be no. For chatter, anyone can join is going to be yes. Between waving and ping pong, maybe they could learn to high five. I mean, high five would be a good activity for this kind of thing, except I think of high five as a one-on-one activity. And there's a mode for that. It would be participation binary, which only allows you and one other person to do it, right? Now, I can imagine setting these up in a way that will make, instead of joining like a group, it might be that you can persuade or inspire other like nearby robots to repeat the activity with you. So like if one wants to high five another and they do it, and another nearby one sees the high five happen, maybe they want a high five now also, right? So it wouldn't be a group activity necessarily, but it'd be a way to sort of chain together binary activities. That's not a bad idea. You could have, here's an idea. Peer pressure. Yeah, peer pressure. Here's a thought. If you have these chaining of binary activities, what if it counted how many times sequentially it happens? And then you could have like a high score of how many high fives happened in a row, right? And then I'm imagining the scenario where like it could be a speedrun category of like high 5% of like get to 10 high fives in a row or something. Achievement for chains. Yeah, I could totally see an achievement for having a whole lot of high fives happening in a chain, right? Because like if you've got enough little guys with hands that can do a high five close enough to each other, the peer pressure, more likely than not, someone's gonna want a high five, right? Like that's a pretty good idea. I'm gonna have to I'm gonna leave myself a note about that. I'm gonna do that in a comment in one of these. We're gonna do that in gosh, that's got to go in activity mod here. We're going to put that in under peer pressure, I guess. I'm going to add a comment. What about chaining high fives? Hopefully I'll remember that. because that sounds like an important feature. That sounds like something we gotta do. We gotta get those high fives going, right? But for now, we got the wave. We've created it, and we made it so that chatters anyone can join. So anyone can chatter, even if they don't have the chatter activity, right? Wave, on the other hand, you can only do that if wave is one of your activities, right? With that in mind, the next step is creating another drone sheet. So we're going to do create new resource. It's going to be a drone sheet. Basically, every unique type of drone gets a drone sheet. So it's going to be DS. So we need to make a robot that has arms. I was thinking it might be kind of interesting to have kind of an unknowable pyramid kind of guy that happens to have like arms and hands, right? And maybe floats around a little bit. I don't know. But it was just Trongle, some kind of a Trongle man sort of character might be the next way to go. So, Trongle P. P stands for prototype. So this is going to be the prototype version of the Trongle bot. Default name, Trongle. What's the Roombot's base speed? 3. We're going to make this guy a base speed of 5. Blisteringly fast by comparison. And then for default activities, we're going to give them... Let's see. We want chatter. We want space out. And we want wave. They can do all 3. Very cool. Now that we have that created, we need to make a copy of, we need to duplicate the drone v2 scene. Duplicate. We'll call it Trongle v2. And let's open it up. So the visuals, for sake of simplicity, we could just make it a different color rather than try to create a different set of placeholder visuals. But I like the idea of trying to give it a different set of placeholder visuals so they stand out even more, right? So I'm thinking, let's see, it's under the visuals. Oh, drone models under this, right? So we've got a couple little mesh instances. So I think what we can do, maybe, is there like a pyramid mesh, prism mesh? Okay. Let's tweak the transform a little bit. That's a little too big. Is there a way I can edit just the prism? Yeah, okay. I kind of want it to be a little bit taller. So why does it make it taller? Okay. I don't necessarily need this box, but I do need something to represent the arms on it. And I am going to have to offset it to be a little bit higher up, I think. Right? Because of the capsule collider is not that big. Okay, that I think is a little closer to what we need there. Probably need to make the emoter offset a little higher too, because he's taller. And then maybe make a duplicate of that, and then we can just sort of shift one to the left, one to the right, mess with the positions a little bit on those to represent the arms. Oh. That's not good. That's not a good size. Copy, paste. There we go. That's going to be better. We probably want to mess with scale a little bit here. That's a little big. Oh, it's proportionally linked. That's the problem. I'm cool with that being a little thin. I just want to make it a little longer and a little narrower. There we go. And make a copy of that. Mess with the transform on it. Instead of minus, there. Okay, so we've got a guy with arms. Trongol V2. We'll save the scene. And it did occur to me just now that, what was I gonna say? The wave emote, or the wave activity, it probably needs a different emote sprite, right? So let's see, what sprites do I have in the emote sprite territory here? In my sliced icons. Ooh, we get the cool emote. I feel like the cool emote might be the way to go for now. Boop. That way, the ones that are doing it are very cool, and everyone else is going to want to do that and can't. That'll be nice and fun. Okay, so we have that. Let's start putting some Trongols in there. Let's add some Trongols to the scene. So we gotta add them, and then we gotta register them too. Just making sure that they seem right to me. That seems right to me. Okay. So we got a Trongol, another Trongol, another Trongol. Let's make half the population Trongols. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Maybe I should make the farm a little bigger. Like widen the fences a little. Just a little. Okay, what's the damage? Let's go with 30. That way, this guy can be minus 30. Very nice. That guy, minus 30. And 30. And of course we need to rebake the navigation mesh. Bake navigation, boom. And last but not least, we need to add our Trongols to the starting drones. It's important. 1, 2, 3, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And of course the numbering doesn't line up with the index on the array because it's an index. So the 20th drone occupies slot number 19. Confusing. I always thought that somebody ought to have just put their foot down and changed how indexes work so that it doesn't make our brains hurt quite as bad. Okay. But that would require a lot of changes to a lot of things. That wouldn't be so good, I don't think. Let's see if the triangles correctly exclude. Let's see. Okay, we have some activities are starting. Oh, I should probably increase the activity limiters, right? Because currently we're limiting to 5. 5 people doing activities at a time, which is simply not that many. We ought to bump those numbers up. But where am I limiting that? Is it in Game Manager? No. Is it in... It's got to be in Hive Mind. Yeah, activity max is 5. Let's go all the way to 15. That will juice up our testing of the exclusion here. Got a mix of roombots and trongles. Got some shattering going on. Very cool. Oh, he decided to join in. Nobody waving yet. Just chatters so far. You know, it occurred to me that there's nothing stopping a trongle from initiating a wave with a roombot as it stands right now. Because they don't check the validity of their original target yet. Which I find interesting. Man, they really are just... Are they not doing wave? Nobody be trying to wave right now. Interesting. Did I forget to set the visuals differently? Oh, I know what I did. I know what I did. The trongle does not know that it is not a roombot. They have the roombot sheet attached to them still. They don't have the trongle sheet. We need to tell them who they really are. Become trongle. Save scene. Let's try it again. Show me your true colors, trongles. We know you want to do something that other people aren't allowed to do. Yeah, okay, so that's the bug that I was waiting for here. You'll have to watch the troubleshooting in real time. I'm glad. But yeah, see, right out of the gate, one of the trongles decided to initiate a wave with a roombot. We didn't actually put anything in the code to prevent that from happening. Because as it stands right now, there is no validation step to make sure that the target you're trying to do the activity with is a valid target. We have validity checking for joining, but not for initial, like picking a person to do the activity with. So you got all these trongles waving at roombots, right? And they're not supposed to be able to do that. So we got to put a stop to it. I just can't have them like mingling like that. It's not natural. Anyways, happy Pride Month. Um, let's make that more strict. Oh no, segregation. Absolutely. So this is something that's going to come down to the target selection process, I think, right? And that gets a little tricky because we have, when we're trying to get a target, this is going to be an activity mod, right? So at some point, it asks HiveMind for a target. Pick activity at random. Pick target. Pick target is current target equals body HiveMind get other random drone, right? So HiveMind has get other random drone. Very cool. Problem is, careful AI training. It's important. Not actually doing any AI training here, though. None of them are actually that smart. Currently, the HiveMind is just pulling any old random drone from a hat to be the other target, which is not really what we want to do if we're trying to make sure that we only get valid targets, right? So let's make a new method. Func get other valid drone. This drone and this activity. I'm assuming that the that the activity has already been picked, right? We're going to close that. Too many things open. Drone behavior. We're going to close that. Okay. Where does pick target get called? Pick target gets called here during perform activity, right? And we've already picked an activity by the time we do perform activity because, yeah, here we go. We have pick activity. We do activity random, and then we do perform activity, right? So instead of pick target doing current target equals HiveMind, get other drone body, right? Instead of get other random drone, we're going to do get other valid drone. Valid drone. Body. Current activity. So now that we have get other valid drone, one thing we got to do is see how picky it is, right? So, because if it's solo, or doesn't matter who's joins, then we can just do pick random. If it's group or binary and not anyone can join, then we have to validate it, right? So if this activity dot, so we're checking if it's first, if it's got to be either we're basically checking that it's not solo here, right? First, let's specify this is an activity. That will make this a little easier. Because this should now know what the variable is called, right? So on activity though, man, this is tough. Oh, shit. Gotta quit Discord. There we go. We've got participation. There we go. That's one of them. That's one thing we're checking in HiveMind. If participation If it's not, shared participation type solo. And then if it's not, anyone can join. So this is where we validate. Actually, we don't have to do else though, because we're going to return a value. That's going to end that method. It's going to end that function. So down here we do return get other random drone, this drone. So basically, if it's not for these particular conditions, who cares? You can just get any other random drone. But if we're going to validate, then, well, let's see. We got to go through all the drones. So we have this get all other drones function here, yeah? Let's start with this. All else. Then we do... I feel like getting all of the other valid drones, that needs to be its own function. That's going to be for the best. Func get all other valid drones. This drone. And we get the activity. Okay, so var output. We're going to actually start by just copying this guy, right? Get all other valid drones. Cool. This drone, this, get func. Pretty much, we are getting funky. So, we're sending the drone that we're wanting to check and the activity that we're trying to check to a new function. Normally, getting all of the drones, I'm just making sure that I'm not adding the drone that is trying to get another target to the list. We don't want it to accidentally roll itself, right? That's what that means. So we're checking them all. If it's not equal to that, then we add it to the list. But there's another thing we need to check. We want to check that it's not that, and we want to check that its sheet has the activity, right? So then we go if this drone dot, and that's going to be on the body. I think it's actually just called sheet. Default activities has this activity. Then we append. Right? That should do it. So this gets us our all other valid drones. Whoop. I accidentally just typed an F somewhere that I didn't need to. F in chat for the typo. Then we can just do the rest of the thing, where we roll randomly among everything that's left. Now, the other thing that's going to be tricky here, though, right, what if there's no valid drones, right? What if there's no one? That isn't something I accommodated for. But it could happen. I feel like that needs to get fixed. But I want to test this now, so far. So we're going to save all. And let's see how that goes. We should find out almost right away. Okay, so far so good, right? We got some waving. They decided to all switch to chattering, though, when somebody showed up to chatter. That's kind of fun. Nice accommodation there. Okay, chattering. Very cool. Decided to join in the chattering. Very cool. That guy's getting totally blocked. Okay, they're waving. Haven't seen someone try to wave with a Roombot yet. Oh! I think it just happened. Okay. So for pick target, we have current target, body, hive mind, get other valid drone. And hive mind, get other valid drone. If participation is not equal to solo, and if it's not, anyone can join. Then we are getting other valid drones. If this drone sheet default. Okay. Here's the problem. We're checking to see if the drone passed in has the activity, and that's wrong. That's always going to be true. We need to check if all drones i.sheet.default activities has the activity. There's the problem. Too many toasters. There we go. That should work. That should give us what we need there. Let's find out. Let's see if anybody tries to chatter with a Roombot now. Okay. We got chattering with Roombots. We've got waving with Trongles. Nothing to be concerned about just yet. That's good. Cool. Waving. Very cool. I think so far we've pretty much got intended behavior. So I think now would be a good time to chase down what to do about not getting anybody, not getting a valid target, not getting any target, right? So I feel like we can do something like that. We can do forget other valid drone and forget other random drone for that matter, right? If all else has a size of 0, we can return null. Oh, I'm on cap lock. We don't need to be cap lock. Size equals 0. Return null. Similarly, we can do that down here. Oh, this needs to be indented. One more step. There we go. Chattering at the Trongle. Indeed. We are chattering at the Trongle here. So, when we return null, we need to make sure that pick target can handle getting null. So current target is stuff. We pass. Pick target happens in here. Then we've got body current target equals current target, which is going to be null if we failed to get it. If current activity movement pattern is approach, then we're setting a transit, we're setting movement mode, nav frame, wait time, timer start. Okay. So here's the problem. If current target is null, I think this might be what I meant by I might regret this also. Oh no, that has to do with the structure of these statements. Just the fact that I've got nested if statements in here, and that's deciding basically what to do when we call perform activity, right? I still might regret that, but we need to check right here if we got null for current target or for pick target, you know. So, and that kind of tells me that should probably trigger a wait, because if we try to get a target, there's no one available for that particular activity. Because my gut instinct would be that we should try to choose activity again, right? Like we've done pick target, we couldn't find a target, we should re-choose activity. However, by doing that, we run the risk of creating an infinite loop where if there's a drone and all of their activities have no valid targets, they are going to be trying to find someone to do something with multiple times per frame, every frame, until the game crashes. Which would be bad. But this will also cause a crash, because we're assuming current target is not null here, and doing a lot of stuff about current target. So if that's null, and we move on, we have a problem. The safest thing to do, extrovert problems. Absolutely. Yeah. If I want to do something with someone and there's no current target, it will cause the game to crash. That's just how living as an extrovert is. At the end of the day, though, we got to break out of this issue. I need to head in the direction of bed now. Okay. Well, Arrow, thanks for joining in. I appreciate the listen. Get some good rest. I think the safest thing to do here would be to tell the brain to start wait. Great stream as usual. I will try to tune in next time. Thank you. I appreciate that. Always happy to have folks in chat, folks watching and listening along. So under pick target, I'm pretty sure we just need to tell the brain to start wait. And we should probably also stop activity. Because that will give us activity state none. That will get us to leave groups. That will toggle our bubble off. That will set our main state to idle. It'll start wait. Yeah, we should do, if current target is null here, we should call stop activity for safety purposes. But what we can do, if current target is null, stop. just stop. No, stop activity. So this is for safety. But what we can do is add some sort of a variable that dictates how many times we're willing to re-roll our chosen activity, right? and basically give us an opportunity to retry this whole process, because we can call pick activity here. And during pick activity, we can check to see if we've hit our limit and increment it and go again and increment it and go again. And if we hit our limit, then we could go limit, like reset to 0, stop activity, right? Since it's fresh in my mind, let's go for it. So we're going to go var activity re-roll activity roll limit int equals 10 var current activity equals 0. So pick activity, we're going to do if current activity roll if it's less than, or rather if it's greater than or equal to activity roll limit, then we do current activity roll. I don't want to call it current activity roll because current activity is a variable and it's going to be hard to auto-complete it like that. How about current a roll? Man, what an a roll. There we go. We got to check the a roll. The a roll needs to be under a certain size to get past this. Okay, current a roll is then 0, stop, activity, return. Cool. So down here, current target is null. Then we do current a roll plus equals 1, pick activity. We didn't find a valid target. Try again. And then down here, after activity timer start, oh yeah, and then after pick activity, we gotta go return. We gotta get out of there. Down here though, ooh, we should call an else. Should we? Actually, I think after set activity message, because that tells me everything went hunky-dory. Then we do current a roll is 0. Because we don't want to accrue rerolls and then not clean it out, right? So we got that. We cleaned the a rolls. We should now be able to save all. And now we shouldn't have to worry about not having a valid target for stuff. Now, if we really wanted to test this, then what we could do is reduce the triangle count to 1 and make its only valid thing wave. And that would be the way to go. That would be the way to test that that really worked. Then we could do a print message that says, hey, I couldn't find anything to do. Cleaning the A rolls. Oh yeah, T stands for the task and the A roll with the T paper. Okay, okay. Well, if there was a room for another function for that, because if oh, man, oh, that's a good idea. Oh no. Oh, why are you giving me this bad idea? Here we go. Okay. Oh no, this is hive mind. We don't need hive mind to have this joke in it. We were gonna do that in here. Fine. Funk tea paper. Current a roll equals 0. And then the comment to explain what this does cleans the A roll. And now we can just call tea paper. Call tea paper there, and we call it here. There. Tea paper now cleans the A roll. You're welcome. You're welcome, Exercise. I will make my code worse as a joke sometimes. Helping create inscrutable code. Yes. This one was too funny to not do it. It was too funny to not do it. Okay, so we're cleaning the A roll. We've got our tea paper. We've got triangles. We've got joining. We've got the ability to join activities. That's good. We're looking pretty tight with stuff we wanted to accomplish today. We didn't do the putting the biographical information in another place. We didn't quite get there. We definitely closed up some problems and fixed some bugs. So I'm actually really happy with what we were able to accomplish today. I think this is starting to look and feel pretty good now. And by that I mean, you know, I got the stuff done that I wanted to get done. That's kind of a win. That feels pretty nice. Kind of want to watch them for a little bit, you know? That was pretty interesting. I wonder if the wait messages for or the activity messages for the triangles for waving works correctly. I don't know for sure that it does. Oh, hey. Trachea, thanks for joining in. Hello. Unfortunately, I'm just wrapping up now, but thanks again for another month of sub. That's awesome. Taking the lead. I guess you just couldn't be tied for first, could you? You gotta get all the way to, you gotta get first all to yourself, which is legit. So you'll notice we've got some triangular shaped friends. We've got some red lines being drawn all over the place. That's just a little like debug drawing to show where the navigation agent is trying to get them to move whenever they're trying to path to another little guy, basically. But we fixed the bug that caused them to rock around and bump and sort of turn onto their butt. And we fixed, or rather we expanded the feature that causes them to do activities with each other to give them a chance to join in on other people's activities, right? And just to be sure, we made some changes to, like we introduced this little triangular guy who can do an activity that the little room bots cannot do, just to make sure that we have the option to have some exclusivity with specifically an action that requires parts that a robot doesn't have. So basically we added wave, which just sort of represents sort of waving your arms into the air. And the triangles can do it, but the Roombots can't. So if two triangles meet to do the wave action and there are nearby Roombots, they can't join in. A triangle cannot pick a Roombot to wave with. Oh, he got stuck. Oh, yeah, he's probably going to give up. There we go, chatting. They're communicating, yeah. It's going to be really fun and cute once I've got a slightly less placeholder model for these various robots and have them animating a little bit, that's going to be really great. Trachea, I'd like to name one Beep Boop. We can definitely do that. The Trongles are gatekeeping waving. They totally are. That's just, it's by design. So Trachea, do you want to name a Roombot Beep Boop, or do you want to name a Trongle Beep Boop? Because there's currently two different types of robot running around. The Trongles are a little choosy. So how do you want to do that? Do you want to name a Trongle, or do you want to name a Roombot? Beep Boop is a pretty good name. Yeah, tough decision. Naming a Trongle or naming a Roombot. Name a Trongle, but let's go Widget. Okay, Widget it is. The first Trongle is going to get a name. There we go. Nickname, Widget. It is done. It is named Widget. That was fun. But we're at a good stopping point, because if I try to start something new, I'm just not going to be able to get very far at this point. But it's been good. I'm glad so far this actually performs pretty well at 20 robots, which is I don't want to call it a surprise, because I've got some stuff to sort of limit how complicated the stuff they're doing is, right? Like, they're not checking their navigation every single frame. They're only doing it every 5 frames currently. And only a portion of them are allowed to try to do activities all at the same time. So I guess some of that is paying off. On the second day, Ian made a Trongle and called it Widget. He said it was good. Yeah, I mean, it's all right. I think good, write this down. I think good might be a bit of an exaggeration. On the second day, I made a Trongle, named it Widget, and it was all right. I would say it was all right. It was good enough for now, right? But I'll definitely be replacing it with something better in the future. So it's not very quotable. So, you know, but it definitely needs to go into the book, right? That needs to be what is in the book, because that is what I said, right? Yeah, we got some Trongle to Trongle communication there. They're doing waving, which only Trongles are allowed to do. The Holy Trongle Scriptures, maybe. Oh yeah, I forgot I made the Trongles faster than the Roombots by quite a bit. The Roombots have a speed of 3. The Trongles have a speed of 5. So the Trongles, they can really, by comparison, you know, actually, I'm very tempted. Do y'all want to make the Trongles blindingly fast for a little bit? We got 1 minute left. I think we can stand to make the Trongles really, really fast. So let's make the base speed of the Trongle 50. I don't know how this is going to go. They're 10 times faster than they were. Okay, ready for this? Ready for this? The Trongles are pretty fast. Oh, this is great. Oh boy. Oh, where are they gonna go? Whew. It's gonna be a lot funnier when the floor has some texture, just so we have something to compare that to. But man, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay. I think we're okay. Well, we can set it back to 5, but I think that's a good way to sort of ship this for today. Gossiping in the corners. They love congregating in the corners. I didn't give them any preference to avoiding the corners, so they're just going to be going to places, right? That's pretty. Imagine if there was bonk physics. So that's a tricky one, right? So right now, what makes a lot of what they're doing work is that they have a character body attached. One of them hit the ramp and was moving horizontally so quickly that they didn't hit the ground until they hit the wall first. But bonking is tough because they currently all have character body 3D. It's the easiest to move a character body 3D, and I'm pretty sure that's something you need if you want to use navigation agents, which is how I'm making them pathfind, right? But it means that they're not affected by physics. So falling is something I have to work into their movement script. And other types of forces acting on them, I would have to script very manually, right? I would have to find a way to basically give them a movement mode that would dynamically move them as if they were getting bonked, right? That doesn't mean I'm not going to try. And there are other things I think I can do with basically giving them a physics spot. Like, I haven't really made it. I think, did y'all catch that? I think a Trongle had a Roombot sitting on top of it, and it zipped across the map with the Roombot on its head. It was very quick, but I definitely saw that happen. Anyways, the short of it is manually coded bonks is probably what I'm going to have to do. But that might actually be funnier, as Lexercise points out, because it can be as floaty as I want it to be. I can make it potentially more dramatic, right? Because I'll play it back in slow-mo later. Yeah, I could definitely scrub through and see if I could clip the Roombot as a hat situation that occurred. But like, I could potentially make it more dramatic if I do manual bonk, like a Smash Bros type of situation with hit stop, if you're familiar with that, where you basically pause the game for a few frames when you have a big impact to emphasize it, and have like a splash visual effect, and just freaking send one like out into oblivion with like a smoke trail or something. Because I was planning on adding, basically adding like a gate to the fence, so that if Roombots either leave or get sent out of the pasture by accident like that, there's a place for them to queue to sort of re-enter without having to make them physically move back to the gate or whatever. I can just warp them to a place where they sort of line up to be let back in. If they get just freaking launched by a Trongle that has a base move speed of 50, for example. Or other activities that cause launching to occur. That kind of stuff. But yeah. Manual bonking is going to be the way to go. Anyways. This has definitely been fun. I'm going to turn the speed back down before I push my commit to my GitHub. But yeah, this was an interesting experiment. It was good. It is neat to see that the joining radius is so effective that even the very fast Trongles, when they enter the join radius of a chat and they decide to chat, they just instantly stop and like, oh, you know, it's like great. Sweet. I'm kind of tempted to try to add sound here soon. Just a little bit of sound, right? Because that could be really fun and cute, maybe. I'll think about it. I'll think about adding sound. Anyways, this has been fun. I would call it a success. I'll be streaming again on Wednesday and Friday this week at around the same times. So 8 p.m. EST to 10 p.m. EST. And thanks again for tuning in. I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.